Hello, everybody. It's my great pleasure to tell you something about the Storylines Gaelyn Gordon Award. Now, Gaelyn Gordon was a wonderful writer who had about 10 years before she died in 1997. And she produced some wonderful books, New Zealand books, which sold very well in New Zealand and overseas. And we were all very sad that she died quite young. And the Storylines people thought it would be nice to commemorate her in some way. And we thought, well, Gaelyn was a writer who had been shortlisted quite a number of times, but she'd never quite won a major award. So we thought it would be nice to remember her by giving an award to a book which had done well in the marketplace and was much loved by children. It had proved itself a favourite among children. And so the award was started about 2 years after she died with the help of three wonderful publishers who all published Gaelyn's work, which was HarperCollins, David Ling, and Scholastic. And we started the award in 1999, and it's an annual award given to a book which Storylines believes meets all those criteria. And it has gone to some wonderful books over the years, writers and illustrators whose books have really become favourites with New Zealand children. So that's the background to the award, and it means that there's a monetary prize as well. But I know that writers and illustrators really love to win this award because it tells them that their books have been really, really successful. So the 2020 winner is a great book called The Big Block of Chocolate, and it was written by Janet Slater and illustrated by Christine Dale. And it actually goes back to 1984, when it was first published by Scholastic. And it has sold millions of copies, and it's done so well that they reprinted it in 2017 with the same illustrations. They didn't need to change anything at all. And it's a beautiful book about the joy of sharing. And we all love chocolate, and we might want to eat lots of pieces ourselves, but the story tells you that it's actually much nicer to share it. And so I would like to pass over to Janet and Christine to tell you a little bit about the book which has won the award this year. And first of all, I think we're going to Janet Slater, the writer.
Thank you. I was absolutely overwhelmed when I got the news. So won the Gaelyn Gordon Award, and I felt very privileged. And I just want to thank mostly the illustrator, Christine, because I think that when a child picks up a book for the first time, the first thing they look for is the illustrations. And the story, of course, was important because the illustrations couldn't happen without the story background. But I do thank you so much, Christine, because it was something that we'd done together. And congratulations to you. But I have a large family, and I really enjoyed writing for them. And I'm very grateful to all my family. I just want to say thank you to them now. And thank you to Penny Scown, and thank you to Tessa, who I've known for a while. And yes, I feel very privileged to be part of one of the people that have won this very special award. And thank you to all my readers. Thank you to all the children. They were inspired too by my own children. And I can remember how it came to me one day, whether it was something that the children were maybe squabbling over. But anyway, I started thinking of a line or two, and having back in those days just pencil and scrapbook, I wrote a few lines while I was hanging out the washing, and then I went in and wrote those lines down and went back and picked out a few more clothes and thought of another couple of lines, and back I went in again and wrote a few more lines. And so that book progressed, and the story progressed, and it's progressed now for a very long time, and it's the subject for children of sharing too, which I think that kiddies like to have a happy ending, and as the story progressed from one stage to the other of each greedy character wanting to have it all for themselves, that it finally ended with the ants sharing it. So, yeah, that's why I think it's lasted for such a very long time, has been reprinted a number of times. But it was a joint effort, and Christine, thank you so much. I couldn't do it without you. Now, I think that's about all I have to say, except, yeah, very many thanks, not just to all of the publication staff and everybody, but also to my family, who've been so supportive over a mother that's always sitting down with something to scribble over, and they managed to survive. But anyway, yeah, I just, all the children that enjoy my book, I'm so happy that it has been something and pleasure for children and parents and teachers to use throughout the years. I think maybe it's time for me to pass on to Christine now. And Christine, please pass on to Penny too. And I just remember the days that we used to meet together in Wellington and used to give out the bags with the scholastic bags and so on. I've still got a collection of those. So, yes, thank you all so very, very much. And I'll say goodbye for now.
Thank you, Janet. Hello, everyone. Christine Dale here. I'd like to start by thanking Storylines for acknowledging this, my first ever illustrated commission in this way. I remember Gaelyn Gordon so very well, her writing skill, her humour, and her amazing inner and lively inner child, all of which made her an excellent writer for children. I'm so honoured to see my name associated with hers in this way. It has been a quiet bubbling of pleasure knowing that the Big Block of Chocolate had won this award as we toiled through this strange year of isolation and worry. I look forward to the day when we can all meet in person. I am very grateful to all those at Storylines responsible for establishing an award that acknowledges work that has stood the test of time in this way. In this case, as said, an amazingly long period of time, and one that marked the beginning of my career in publishing. Thank you too to Janet, and thanks for the acknowledgement, Janet, for writing such a delightful story and one that made conceiving the illustration so very easy. You may be interested to know that I won the right to illustrate the work because I doodled an image of the cat walking away, tail in the air. I had relatively recently been employed by Libby Handy, the then publishing manager at Ashton Scholastic. She saw that doodle that was inspired by your text and suggested I try completing a page for her consideration. Thank you, Libby. I learned so much from Libby as she worked with Janet on the text. I remember her saying she knew the text was working well after hearing that I've shared draft with the cat's just arrived. She had draft with a little girl who lived next door. She overheard her some days later chanting, "Just the very sight of it brings back the taste delight of it." So she knew the text was working. The cat I doodled became the image on this page. Unlike other illustrators, on this book I had the joy of completing the artwork as part of paid employment, an absolute luxury. I'm often asked what makes a successful picture book, and I've heard many opinions on the subject. In my experience and in my opinion, it starts with the writer. The story needs to be relevant to the age and interest of the reader. As we can see here, chocolate resonates with all ages, so it was bound to be a success. I believe good stories at this level have a lot in common with a good joke. They are brief, with every word well considered. The plot is clearly and cleverly constructed, and there must be a satisfying punchline. The job of the illustrator is to build on and extend that strong story base. An illustrator cannot make a bad story a winner, but they can ruin a good story. So the responsibility of the illustrator is to build on and extend and not distract from the writer's work. Since so much of the story must be pared back, it is the illustrator's job to fill in the missing information, describe the character, add the colour, and provide the unwritten reactions. Working on the big block of chocolate was the best part of my working day back then, and remains a favourite all these years. So I was delighted when Scholastic decided to bring back my version of the big block of chocolate. Thank you again to all concerned. And here's to another years of success in the years to come. And back to you.
Kia ora koutou. Firstly, congratulations to Janet and Christine. It's not often a picture book is still around 35 years after publication, and particularly not a New Zealand picture book, which is why it is a very worthy recipient of the Gaelyn Gordon Award for a much-loved book. Big Block of Chocolate is actually one of our most successful titles internationally. Originally published in October 1985 as part of our Read by Reading series, it was instantly recognised as a winner by our overseas Scholastic affiliates and Holmes McDougall in the UK, meaning that the book was sold not only in New Zealand but also to Australia, the UK, Canada and the USA. This original paperback edition sold over 110,000 copies, with a further 122,500 copies in the USA. This was in the days when we also used to publish big book editions, so a further 21,000 were produced as blown-up books for use in the classroom. 16,500 of those were for the USA. In the early 2000s, we thought that perhaps the book was looking a little dated, so we decided to rejuvenate it by having it re-illustrated in a more modern style. As with any classic that veers away from its original form, the new edition had its fans as well as its detractors, but in the 10 years between 2003 and 2013, a further 27,000 copies were printed. Then, in 2017, the decision was made to revert to Christine's original illustrations, but in a more user-friendly size and with a refreshed new look to the layout and typesetting. And there are now nearly 11,000 copies in print of this updated edition. So all up, that's a massive my goodness, that's a massive, it's so big I can't even get my tongue around it, a massive 291,700 copies of the book in all its versions. So I think that proves that it certainly is a very much loved book.